And so young Guo tumbled down the hillside, rolling into a thicket of trees and tall grass, where consciousness just slipped away. When he opened his eyes again, it was to a world of pure white. Countless bees, buzzing with a deafening hum, were all around him. An unbearable itch bloomed all over his skin, and the world dissolved once more into that white haze before he was lost completely to the darkness.
Much, much later, he felt something. An icy cool, fragrant, sweet liquid was being poured gently down his throat. He swallowed it in a daze, a deep sense of comfort spreading through his fevered body. As his eyes fluttered open, he was startled by a face staring right down at him. A strange, ugly face, covered in goosebumps. One hand held his jaw, while the other held a cup, continuing to feed him that soothing, sweet liquid.
He realized this person, she had saved him. The sharp pain and that maddening itch from the bee stings had faded away. He was lying on a soft bed. He managed a weak smile, a gesture of thanks. The old woman smiled back, and even though her smile was, well, even uglier, it was filled with this gentle kindness that just cut right through his fear. In that moment, a wave of warmth washed over him, and a desperate plea escaped his lips. "Grandma, please, don't let my master come and get me."
The old woman, Grandma's son, she asked him in this soft voice whose child he was. You know, it had been so long since he had heard a voice that warm, that concerned, that a heat just rose in his chest, and he began to weep uncontrollably. She held his hand, a loving smile on her face, and gently patted his back, just letting him cry until the whole storm passed. And then, he told her everything, every terrible thing that had happened.
Suddenly, a delicate voice was heard from behind a curtain. A slender, jade-white hand parted the drapes, and a young girl entered. She was dressed in a thin white robe, and she looked as if she were shrouded in mist. Maybe 16, perhaps 17, and her entire being, except for her jet-black hair, was snow white. Her beauty was otherworldly, but her skin had no color, a paleness that was both stunning and deeply unnatural. Yang Guo felt his face flush, and the tears, they just stopped instantly.
But just as this strange new peace settled over him, angry voices started calling out from beyond the forest. The Quanzhen disciples, they'd found him. Led by Zhen Jibing, they demanded the boy's return. Grandma's son led young Guo out to face them, and you could just feel the air grow thick with tension. One of the Taoists, furious at the sight of his injured master, lunged forward and grabbed young Guo.
In that one instant, Grandma's son's patience just snapped. With a swift, powerful movement, she snatched young Guo right back. As the arguments got louder and louder, his master, Zhao Zhijing, stepped forward, insisting it was his right to punish his own disciple. But Grandma's son, now fiercely protective, she just retorted with pure defiance, her voice ringing out, "I refuse to let you discipline him. So what of it?"
And just like that, a fight erupted. The Taoists immediately formed their legendary Big Dipper formation, a tactical array that multiplied their power, trapping Grandma's son in a web of coordinated strikes. She fought back with this strange, unorthodox style, her skirt kick lashing out with unpredictable speed, but she was outnumbered and she was outmatched. So as a last resort, she began to hum. A low sound, a sound that grew and multiplied until the entire forest buzzed in reply. Swarms of jade bees descended like a living cloud, sending the Taoists fleeing in absolute terror. As the disciples scattered, a senior Taoist, Hao Datong, emerged from the trees. He was wielding 2 smoking torches, and he drove the bees back. Grandma's son, seeing her advantage was lost, tried to retreat. But Hao Datong, not wanting to harm her but unable to let her leave, engaged her. In a moment of desperate crisis, he struck her with a powerful palm, a blow he only intended to push her back, but one that proved to be fatal. The little dragon girl who'd been watching from the shadows appeared as if from nowhere. She knelt by Grandma's son, whose life was quickly fading. With her last strength, Grandma's son looked at the girl and begged her. She begged her to look after Yang Guo for his entire life, to never let anyone bully him. After a long, silent moment of hesitation, the little dragon girl agreed. A faint, peaceful smile appeared on Grandma's son's face. She turned her eyes to Yang Guo and gestured for him to come closer. And as he leaned in, she whispered her final words to him, asking that he also look after the little dragon girl who was all alone in this world for her entire life. A final torrent of blood sprayed from her mouth, and she closed her eyes. And she died.
Yang Guo cried out her name, collapsing over her body in a fit of inconsolable grief. The surrounding Taoists, the very cause of all this, could only stand there in a stunned, sorrowful silence.
The little dragon girl rose to her feet. She looked at Hao Datong, her expression as cold and still as ice. After a long, terrible moment, she spoke, and her voice was chilling. She stated it plainly. A life must be paid for with a life. She demanded he end his own to atone. If he did, she said, she would spare the rest of his sect. When he refused, she attacked. With blinding speed and an unearthly graceful fighting style, using her own white silk ribbons as weapons, she disarmed and defeated not only Hao Datong, but even the great Qu Chuji. Then, scooping up young Guo with one arm and Grandma Sun's body with the other, she flew over the walls of the monastery and vanished back into the darkness of the tomb. This place, you see, though it was called a tomb, was actually a vast, grand, underground complex. It was built centuries ago as a hidden fortress to resist foreign invaders, but now it was the ancestral home of a secluded and mysterious martial arts sect. The little dragon girl led Yang Guo through winding, pitch-black corridors until they finally reached a huge burial chamber, lit only by the faint, flickering glow of 2 oil lamps.
Inside stood 5 imposing stone coffins. Little dragon girl pointed to each one in turn. The first, she explained, was for their sect's founder. The second, for her master. The third was now for Grandma Sun. And the last 2, she said quietly, were for her martial sister, Li Mochu, and for herself.
Yang Guo was completely confused. He argued that if she promised to care for him his whole life, well, she couldn't die before him, right? The little dragon girl replied with a cold, unshakable logic. To fulfill her promise, she could never die before him. Therefore, she explained with this unnerving calm, before she dies, she would, of course, kill him first. With Grandma's son laid to rest, Yang Guo's new life in the tomb began. The little dragon girl agreed to take him as her disciple, inducting him into what she called the Ancient Tomb Sect. His initiation ceremony, however, was, let's just say it was unconventional.
In a back hall, she pointed to a portrait of a stern-looking Taoist. This, she said, was Wang Chongyang, the founder of the Quanzhen sect and an old enemy of their own founder. She told Yang Guo that the very first rule of their sect was to spit on his portrait. Well, you can imagine his delight. He happily spat on the painting, not once, but 3 times, adding a creative little curse for good measure.
That night, she told him to sleep on her bed, which was really just a simple slab of smooth stone. But the moment he lay down, a bone-chilling cold shot through his entire body. She explained this was no ordinary stone. It was a bed carved from cold jade, a rare treasure found deep under polar ice. It wasn't for comfort. It was a tool, designed for one single purpose, to rapidly advance the training of one's internal energy.
The extreme cold, she explained, it forces you to constantly circulate your inner energy just to stay warm, even while you're sleeping. This doesn't just prevent you from losing the progress you made during the day, it actively multiplies it. She taught him the sect's basic breathing techniques, and after just 1 night of shivering and practicing on that bed, his internal energy had already made incredible progress.
Yang Guo agreed to become her disciple and obey her in all things, but he had one condition. He had nothing but bad memories associated with the word master. He wouldn't call her that. Instead, he insisted he would call her Gugu, or auntie. Finding his reasoning strangely amusing, she actually accepted. His first training task began the very next day. She released 3 sparrows into a tiny stone room and ordered him to catch them without harming a single feather. As he lunged and failed, leaping about the small chamber, his strange new life had truly begun. So here he is, in a tomb built on old resentments, under the care of a girl who knows almost no emotion, which makes you wonder, what kind of person is he going to become?